this video, but I realized when I looked at it after the fact that there was a fan blowing in the background the entire time, and it was like you pretty much couldn't even hear me. So that was a big waste. But anyway, try to recap what I said again, because I think it's important to make this video just to share, because I know there are a lot of people that are experiencing this, and it's mainly about sensory issues, and I'm talking about physical sensory issues. It's not so much psychologically related, it's really more neurologically related, as far as being overstimulated by the stuff coming in all around you, you know, stuff you see, feel, hear, all of that. And I just had a really horrible day today because of this. And this is an issue, it's always been there my whole life, but I didn't really become aware of it until a few years ago when I saw my daughters doing certain things, my twins, and then I started to be like, oh my gosh, well that's the same as me. And so then it was like the light bulb moment. But it's still tough because it's hard to deal with this, and in some ways I feel like there's no way to deal with it. And as an example, today, I said I had a really horrible day today because of I was just totally overwhelmed and overstimulated by everything. I had a list of things I needed to get done, so I needed to get some Christmas presents at the craft store, because that's what my girls asked for, and I needed to go grocery shopping, and there was like one other thing I needed to do. But there was multiple places I needed to go. So I started out by going to the craft store. Well, I walked in there, and already, like from the moment I walked in, actually probably before that, because it was like a lot of traffic around town and just really busy, and that's already kind of like too much stuff going on, agitating kind of a thing. Even for people without sensory issues, traffic is an agitating thing. But I got to the store and I went in there, and it's just like people everywhere getting Christmas stuff. And that is kind of like the first sensory thing. Just people everywhere. It's just like chaos to me. You know, it's just people moving in these random ways, you know, carts going opposite directions, you know, the noises from people talking, laughing, the music from the radio mixing with the people's voices, like all of this stuff, you know, feet scraping on the ground, people throwing stuff into carts, you know, the tinging noise that it makes when it hits the cart. It's just like all of this stuff. That is just one thing when you go into the store. So that's the first thing that I'm confronted with when I walk into the store, and I'm thinking, oh, this is not going to go good. Then I start going down the rows to try to look for what I need to get. Well, I get really overwhelmed and overstimulated by the amount of stuff in stores. I really try to avoid stores, any kind of store really, that's a big store, because it's just too much stuff. It's too much stuff. I mean, you look at one aisle in a store, like the craft store, and it's just like all of these different shapes of things, different sizes of things, different colors of things. You go to look at the prices, it's like all these different numbers, you know, 5.99, 1.49, 6.79. It's like all of, just trying to look at the price tag of something is like, because everything's on this row, and there's probably, you know, 500 items and tags and stuff on this row, and I'm just like, you know, I'm trying to process this information, but I can't. I can't focus in on any one thing because everything else is clouding it. And so then that's the second issue, and I wound up just wandering around the store kind of like, not aimlessly, but like I could not focus on anything. It's like I'm seeing the stuff, but I can't focus on anything. And it's like looking at a Picasso painting. Like, there's a picture there, you know, usually of a person or something, you know, but really what I see is like all these different fractal shapes. Like, you know, there's kind of a discernible picture, but it's hard to tell what it is because you're trying to process, like, what is this shape? Like, where does this thing go? Like, where does all this stuff fit in? Like, And that's what it's like, just for me to look at an aisle of stuff. It's horrible. It's horrible whether it's in the grocery store, craft store, you know, a clothing store, any store, any store. I just detest it. And so, yeah, you combine all that stuff, plus, you know, the lights are usually really bright in the stores. They're just terrible. They're like, you know, piercing my eyes, and all of the stuff coming in. It was just way too much stuff, and I almost felt like I was going to start crying in the store. You know, not because I was sad, but I was so, my body felt just overwhelmed physically. You know, all of this stuff is coming in and it's going into your nervous system and it's like affecting your body. And my heart was racing and I was like hyperventilating, you know, trying to calm down. And I was kind of like, I think I started to shake, sort of. I was just like, oh my God, oh my God. And then I couldn't think because all of this stuff was happening to me. I was just like, all I could think of was like, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. But, you know, then there's that little voice in my mind of, I need to get this stuff. I can't leave the store without this stuff, but I can't spend another hour. I probably spent 45 minutes just wandering around and I walked out of there with nothing. I just left there with nothing because I had to leave. And that was what just added to the frustration of it. It was like, God damn, like, all I want to go do is go in there and get what I need. I don't want to feel so crappy. And I almost turned around and came home because my head was actually hurting too. And I was like, I need to go home and lie down where it's dark and quiet. But at the same time, I hadn't gone and got my groceries. So I didn't have any freaking food. And so I drove across town to a different store because I knew I'd be driving for a little while and could calm down, hopefully. And I didn't completely. But it was enough that I could force myself to go into the grocery store, but it was pretty much the same experience as the craft store. Only I did force myself to stay in the store and get what I needed because I had to have food. But I was in that store for 2 hours. I was trying to just slowly go down each row and just focus. I have a list when I go grocery shopping and I only get the things on my list because I cannot, if I was to just walk down a row and try to pick things out, I couldn't do it. It's like I can't even see what is on the row, if that makes sense. It's like there's so much stuff, I couldn't even pick one thing out. It's like it's all just melds together. And it makes no sense to me. So I have to just specifically look for like, okay, bread, you know, and then like I get to the bread, but then it's even more confusing because here's an entire row of bread and there's like 20 different kinds of bread, and then there's bagels and there's buns and there's this. It's like, all I want is a loaf of bread. That's all I want. Like, you don't need 500 million choices for all this stuff. So again, like I left there and I came home and I feel really tired now. I feel tired and physically drained and spent and just like, I feel so crappy and it's so sad. It's such a crappy feeling. And a lot of times, like I say, I will avoid shopping in stores. I will shop online a lot so that I don't have to encounter all of that sensory stuff that is really distressing to me, because I cannot block it out. It's like I'm like a horse that needs blinders, you know, to be able to focus. Just go that way. Like, but I can't. I cannot block out the people's voices and the movements and the colors and the lights. It's just too much. And it makes me feel really physically terrible and agitated and stuff like that. So it's just a really bad experience. I don't really know how to deal with it. And it's really kind of crappy too because my daughters have this as well. And that's really what brought it to my attention, or awareness, I guess, for myself, is that my twin daughters have this same exact issue. Probably even more seriously than me, one of my daughters. She has some real specific issues, like with her hands and with, you know, specific items and things like that. Certain things touching her or that kind of thing. So I feel for them, but I don't know what to tell them to do either because I get just as overwhelmed, and the only way I can deal with it is to go away from all of that stuff. And it's not to say that I don't ever want to be in a public place or I don't ever want to be around people, because that's not the case. But it's certain environments that make it much worse. Like if I were to go to, say, a party or something and there's a bunch of people there in a big room and music is playing, I guess, that's okay, because I'm not trying to focus on getting groceries off a shelf. I'm only focusing on the people that are talking right here. Or, if I was to do some other thing, if I was to go on a walk in the park, right, I wouldn't be so distracted by all the things in the park because there's no people there. If I'm alone walking on a trail, right, then there's no people there. I'm focusing on this one thing. I can't focus when there's too much stuff, which is the second part of the issue, is being distracted and not being able to focus, and then feeling like just chaos. It is chaos, and I know my daughter feels the same way too, mentally, and she gets very agitated and very angry, and will act out and stuff when she starts to feel that way. And I kind of feel like a kid jumping into that big ball pit, with all those different colored balls full of air. Kids like to jump in the ball pit, but I feel like I'm jumping in the ball pit and I'm just sinking. It's like all these multicolored balls just like all around me, and it's horrible. It's like I'm suffocating, and it's just a bad feeling. So now I'm home and I have a whole bunch more things to do, but my head hurts so much that I can't even think. I can't even focus to think about what I need to do. And it's just a distressing situation. So that's something that I deal with. I know there's other people out there that deal with it. People often think of like autism and stuff when they think of sensory issues, but it's not just people that have autism that have sensory issues. So anyway, I'm just throwing that out there, and I'm going to try to go and relax and stuff, but I don't know how well it's going to work. I just wish I had had a more productive, better day.